Good afternoon. I'm Jason Medlock. I'm the host of Expansion of Consciousness, and tonight we have a very, very special guest. We'll also have our contributor and my co-host, Tereska Harrison. We'll be speaking with David Wallace tonight. David J. Wallace, who is a intuitive, who is a psychic, a intuitive remote viewer, associate remote viewer, scientific remote viewer, medical intuitive, psychic intuitive. David has gone through the gamut and has been very, very, very blessed. And he has a special story to share with us tonight. But I'll go ahead and bring on my assistant, my co-host, Tereska Harrison. She is not my assistant, y'all. That is a mistake. She's my equal, but she brings a lot of knowledge to the table, and I had to correct myself real quick with that nonsense. How you doing, sis?
Hello, hello, hello. How you doing?
Doing great. I know in
Good.
the back office we had time to speak with David, and I know you did
Mm-hmm.
as well. I am excited for tonight. David brings
Yes,
a wealth of wisdom. You know, I
yes,
didn't say you hear I didn't say knowledge, wisdom.
yes.
His ancestral history, the Hawaiian culture. You know, David's from Hawaii. Just the near death experiences that he's gone through. Um,
Mm-hmm.
just incredible stories of how he began to acquire psychic abilities, and I just cannot wait.
Yeah, I find it interesting that after going through all these, deaths or near-death experiences, that each time he's grown or his journey has changed or cultivated something different. Each journey has grown his spirituality differently. So I thought that was very interesting when I read his bio. So I'm excited to hear what he
I'm
has to
excited.
say.
He has, and we will be speaking about two of his books, Picking Winners, and the other book is The Journey of Our Souls. And David he's an outstanding author as well. He's into science fiction books, and I'll let him get into that. But without any further ado, we're going to go ahead and bring on Dave Wallace. And Dave, how are you doing?
Hello, everybody. I'm doing well, thank you.
I know Dave's like, these guys are just saying all this good stuff about me, and you know, maybe none of it's true, maybe half of it's
It's
true, but
all
in this case, all of it's true with Dave.
I'm not accustomed to hearing that.
You know, Dave has been a great friend of mine. I'm in some extensive training with him right now, and we've gotten to know each other. I did a Google search, and I wanted to understand how to predict future events, and I stumbled across David's book, Picking Winners, and it was just fascinating to get to know him, and then and get comfortable enough, and him get comfortable enough to come on the show and talk about his extraordinary story and how he has used his gifts in a number of different ways. But without any further ado, Dave, I guess my first question for you, obviously, the first question that most people may ask you, but you were a young boy and you had several experiences, near death experiences. I think four to be correct. Can you
Correct.
walk us through when it first started for you and how did this thing unfold?
Yeah, my first near-death experience occurred when I was 5 years old. I was playing with my brother. Actually, we were fighting in the back of a moving vehicle, and he kicked me from one side of the car, and I flew back. And when I reached to catch myself, I pulled down on a handle of an old, I think it was a DeSoto. And in the old days, when you pull down on the handle, the door opens.
Right.
So uh, the door opened and sucked me right out of the car. And I remember falling backwards, and I could feel myself kind of like struggling. I knew I was going to hit something. And I kind of like tried to pull myself away from falling. And the next thing I know, I found myself floating above myself, looking down.
Mm.
Oh,
And when I I started looking around, I was wondering, what am I doing up here, and who's that?
Mm.
It didn't make sense to me at all. And as I started floating around, then I saw the car stop, and my brother came running out, and my auntie that was driving the car came out and got around me, and that's when I realized kid that I was looking down was me, and I got really scared. And I started
Mhm.
looking around, and I started what I saw was something really different. I was close to home, but it was really different. Like the colors were brighter. There were shadows moving around, and some of these shadows look uh, human shaped in a way. So I got scared, and
Mhm.
as soon as I got scared, I felt somebody reach from behind and grab me and pull me in, and we started floating further up. And when I looked back, it was a Hawaiian man,
Mm.
and I assume was an ancestor of mine, but that's the first time I seen him. And he took me to a safe place. We zipped through the air and went through a tunnel, and eventually ended up in a small room. And you know, what I learned from that time, from that experience, is what seems to be a long period of time on that side is actually only a short time.
Right.
Because I was out on the road. I found out that I was unconscious. I was knocked out. But during that time, I was in a safe room.
So David, after your first near death experience,
Mhm.
you noticed the ability to communicate with otherworldly beings, spirits,
Yeah,
and then you also gained the ability to see objects that were covered or unseen. Can you
that's
tell us
correct.
about that a little bit?
Yeah, the first unusual thing that I saw was angels,
Mm.
appearing in our room in our hospital, and they came through the ceiling. And we were in the old days, I guess. They used to put all of the same kids in the same room, in a big room, hospital room. So I was injured. I wasn't sick, but there were other sick kids that was in the room. There's some with the flu, and some of them are really in bad shape. So the angels came down, and that's the first one I saw.
Mm.
First thing I saw, and then after that, I started seeing spirits of young kids that were running around that had they were stuck in a hospital.
Mm.
So
Mm.
those are some of the things that I saw, and I was able to communicate with them mainly telepathically at first, and then I could. It took a while for me to understand what they were trying to say.
So this happened after your injury when you were 5 years old?
Yeah, 5 years old, and with injured head and other kids that were sick and so far. For me and this other kid that could sense these things, for me, they thought I was just delirious because of my brain injury.
Mhm.
And the other kid saying, your fever's gone. Wow. And he was just imagining that. But for us, we knew, hey, these things are real.
So we're gonna we know that there are four experiences and we want to really cover them. So the
Yeah.
second experience, well, the second near death experience, we know that you gained another gift, but tell us about the experience first. What happened the second time that you experienced a near death episode?
Yeah. The second near death experience, I was an adult already, in my mid 20s. And in this one, the person that came to wake me up, get my spirit out of my body, was a friend of mine who had passed away.
Mm.
And his name was Bruce. And he had passed away, and it came and picked me up. And he showed me a tunnel that was in our closet.
Mm.
And so he opened the closet door, pushed the clothes aside, and he said, I want you to see that. And so he showed me the tunnel, stepped in it, and invited me to follow him. And so I did, and went all the way to the end of the tunnel. And at the end of the tunnel, I saw the next dimension that was there. And it was a beautiful place. I saw um, my ancestors collectively coming towards the place and stepping forward. And but the neatest thing about it is that I also saw my pets, my dogs, all of my guinea pigs that I had, my pigeons that I really loved that had passed on. they came to the end of the tunnel where I was, and they were trying to entice me to come and pet them and play with them. And I cried like a baby. I think I was more, you know, overcome with emotion because of my pets than seeing my family. You know, all of them were just there, and I was so happy to see them. And
So
knowing,
this particular experience, you were able to then communicate with pets, animals, and you were able to communicate with your family. It was that something that was something different from the first time. You care to
yeah,
elaborate on that?
yeah. Well, in the first after the first experience, I could communicate with any type of spirits, but mainly, I did not have a really strong connection with my ancestors yet. The only ancestral spirit that I did make contact was that guide that came to pick me up. And for Hawaiians, we call it our aumakua, or family guardian. And that guardian is always with us at all times. So he was there to help me. But as far as communicating with animals, after the first part, after the first accident, my first near-death experience, I had a better connection with animals. In fact, I could take care of them and raise them, help them when they were sick and stuff. So, and I thought that gift was only limited to animals. I had I had no clue that I could actually use it on people.
And I guess we could call this unlucky events that have happened or unfolded in your life, or we can call them divine events because you had a
Yeah,
third near-death experience.
yeah,
And
yeah.
you have to wonder, okay, are you trying to leave here?
No, actually, like I was telling your sister earlier, I call these near-death experiences like turning points in your life where you're somebody says slaps you in the head and say, "Wake up, boy!"
Mhm.
You know, you go, where are you going and what you're doing? You need to stop. And
Mhm.
so when I was the second near-death experience, I actually was in a profession that I hated. I was a
Mm,
cop. I'm not a policeman.
Mhm.
You know, I may
Mhm.
act like a policeman, but I'm really not.
right.
I'm a social worker. When I stop people, instead of writing on tickets, I look in there and I talk to them.
Right.
You know, give them breaks and stuff. And
So you uncovered, or you were given information on the
yeah,
third near-death experience
yeah,
that life is not as final as we think.
no. In
Can
fact,
you
yeah, you want me to tell you about that
uh,
one?
we want to hear it all.
Yeah. Yeah. My third near-death experience started with me. Um, I had avian flu, spinal meningitis, and my blood levels had turned septic, and my vital organs were shutting down. And it got to the point where um, I could barely walk. I was dehydrated, and my fever was extremely high. And I have type 1 diabetes, so when I was trying to take my uh, blood sugars, it was so high it wouldn't register. Dangerous. And I tried going to my car to drive myself to the hospital, but I fell through some glass in our apartment, and the yard man was out there, so he called the ambulance and took me to the hospital. So when I finally got to the hospital and went to ER, the doctor told me if I had waited in my condition for another 20 minutes, they wouldn't be able to guarantee that I'd be living, and there'd
That
be
is
nothing they
incredible.
could do. And
Wow.
so I was taken straight to ICU, placed on all these antibiotics. And have you ever seen a papaya tree?
Papyri, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
where the fruits are all from the top of the tree, sometimes all the way
Yeah.
down to the ground.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, those were my IV bags.
Oh wow.
So
Really?
I had so many IVs running into my body. It looked
Oh
like a big
wow.
papaya tree.
Papaya tree.
Yeah, with all of these bags of stuff coming in, and I had tubes running in and out of me. And when my first night in the ER, that's when I had my near-death experience. And in this near-death experience, I found myself inside of a cemetery, and I was running looking for an exit, and I couldn't find. And in panic, I started running around, and I ended up falling in a hole. And when I fell in the hole, and I looked up, and I saw a headstone with my name written on it.
Mm.
So
Wow.
I had to crawl out, and I started crying. And when I started crying and feeling sorry for myself, a man came up behind me and called me by my name. And when I looked, and he introduced himself as Death, and he was there
Wow.
for me. And I looked at him and I says, "No, you ain't getting me now." So I started running, and he sent these dogs after me.
Wow.
So I started running in a graveyard, looking for a place to hide, knowing that there's dogs behind me, and I see a tree, the only tree in there, big tree, and I run up to the tree, and I figure, okay, if I can put my back on a tree and get the dogs attack me from front, at least I can try to fight them off. And so the dogs came and started biting at me, and instead of being scared, I felt this rage inside me. And in this rage, I morphed into this huge werewolf. And a dog that was near me and stuff was trying to bite me. I grabbed him and bit off the head and spit out the head like a grape seed. And the head went rolling right to the man in a suit. And he's watching over there. He's really entertained. He's looking and smiling, and I'm fighting off the dogs, and just, you know, ripping them to shreds. And finally, when the last dog leaves me alone, I turned to this man. I said, "Come on, let's go."
Right.
And he stops and he claps his head. Says, "That's the spirit." And he says, kind of like, and the lesson that I learned up until that time is that I was on a really destructive path.
Mm.
And to keep me in this world, I needed one thing that was valuable to me. And the one thing that valued that I valued the most was my wife. I
Your
just
life.
met her. I just met her. And
Yes.
I
Oh,
realized that this woman that I met will change my life. She's the only positive thing that I had in my life at that time. And so that kept me anchored in this plane. And this is the woman that basically changed my life, because from that point on, I was a different man. So that's what death was there for,
So
teaching me.
when you look at you know,
Mhm.
you had another near death experience,
Uh-huh.
and we have so much to cover. People may think we're
wait.
stuck on this, but we're not.
I have a question on that,
Yes.
Jason, before you
Go
move
ahead. Go ahead.
forward, because you said that experience was there to teach you, to it actually changed your life or shifted your life. Can you explain to me how that, when would that, was that revelation revealed to you? How was that revealed to you that you were here for the why and for this, and how you connect your wife to that whole
Sure.
situation?
This destructive pattern that I was in and stuff, I was in a really, really bad place in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I was in a bad relationship to begin with and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking away for, to separate myself from that. I wasn't supported in my spiritual quest. Anything that I did and stuff was seemed like I was a freak, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if I remained in that particular relationship any longer and stuff, I'd be stuck. There would
Mm-hmm.
be nowhere for me to move. And
Wow.
so, in order for me to progress, I had to separate myself from that. And I realized that I knew that I was in the wrong place. And so, when I did meet my wife, both of us, she's a massage therapist, and we were studying Reiki. And
Mhm.
so, we're heading in the same path.
Mhm.
So we're heading in the same direction, and it's just that we met each other at a really critical point in our lives. And so the sickness, allowing myself to get to the point where I was ready to die, I really didn't care if I lived or died at that point. In fact,
Mhm.
death seemed like a welcome, relief from what I was going through at that time.
So,
So
Oh
so,
wow, that's
and
good.
and that's amazing. So, David, doing the fourth experience, you begin to understand the role of your spirit guides
yeah,
and how they played a role in your life. Can you
yeah.
talk about that for a moment?
Yeah, my fourth near-death experience occurred when I had my uh, uh, triple bypass surgery, and they had to stop my heart because they had to repair my mitral valve. So I was dead, clinically dead, for a
Mm.
while. And during that time period, I was taken back to the same room that I was when I was 5 years old. So the near-death experience when I was five, and this time I'm near late 50s and stuff. I went back to the same place
Mm.
with the
Wow.
same man, and
Wow.
so they explained to me, in I think in this last one, they explained more about my Hawaiian name, which carries a mission in it, to communicate with spirits, to communicate
Wow.
with God, be open
Mhm.
to God, and open to the heavens. So that is a not only a gift but a responsibility.
Mm.
You know, it carries a heavy responsibility. So um, it's really interesting because it seems that when I was getting these near death experiences or struggle, is when I stopped listening to the heavens, stopped listening to spirit guides,
Yes.
Mhm.
and just stop and try and do my own thing, but without asking, for guidance. And sometimes I ask, but I don't like the answer. Yeah.
I have
So
100 questions, but I want to. Can you, just the fact that you've had these experiences from a young child all the way
yeah.
up into your adult years, have you had a chance to unpack all of that just to get the one understanding of why were you shown, or why were you uh, the person to have these experiences?
I think you know when you when you're dealing with when you're trying to be a healer,
Hmm.
how can you gain insights into a sick person if you're well all of the time and never experience illness a day in your life?
Mm.
Cannot. You cannot. You don't have the empathy. You don't understand the way they're feeling. You don't understand anything that's going on there in their life. And every challenge that I had in my life and stuff, I finding somebody calling me up on the phone with the same problem, you know. And now, and so because I'm dealing with things that I experience in my life already, I'm in a position where I can feel for them and understand their struggles and hopefully help them, guide them through this time period. Yeah.
And that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was gonna say the same thing because one thing about God and the universe and how it reveals things to us, because we all go through transformation times or
Sure.
times when we transition, and he teaches us in all different ways, and we all get revelations differently, through different experiences. And I think that it's interesting that some people have it a little more tougher than others. It seems to be, it seems to be a little harder because, we still got a lot of people out here hard that kind of listen, but really not listening and still going through different struggles, but not at the extent where your back is against the wall when you really gotta come forth and get something out of this. You know what I mean? Get an understanding out of it.
Well, we know that David has given us a wealth of knowledge, but let's talk about how we can integrate what he said in his book, The Journeys of Our Souls. And our preference, I prepped it to where David could really, really dig into his beginnings, because this book, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just telling you, it is very, very insightful of all the experiences that David has gone through. Dave, you want to talk about, kind of why you wrote the book and, what
Sure.
what inspired you?
Sure. What inspired me to write the book is that there are a lot of people awakening right now, and they're not too sure. They've had similar experiences as me. Some of them experienced had near-death experiences. Others are just waking up and realizing that there's this entire new world to them, and many of them are looking for other people as guides, and they don't know where to turn. So for me, by putting my book out and allowing the public to read, they'll know that they're not alone. There's a lot of actually, there's plenty of people that experience the same place. It's just that we're not all together in the same town, but what makes us available to each other is this technology. So I can talk to people anywhere around, and so they need to know that there's someone that they can talk to, that can relate to them and feel comfortable, because nothing surprises me, really.
Well, in this book, we Tereska and I and a few other ladies, we just finished the first quarter of manifesting for the entire quarter. We're going to be manifesting this entire year, but the first quarter, we were using a book completely about manifestation, and what was so interesting, it was in workbook style, and I love workbook style books. So when you sent me my hardcover version with my autograph and some words of inspiration, I was smiling, David, when I got my book. But I quickly noticed that it was workbook style.
Oh wow!
But it was written in such a pleasant way that I couldn't take my eyes off of it. But certainly you have room in the book for people to reflect on your experiences and possibly, sort of tie in their experiences as well and write about it. What inspired you to do that?
I'm an educator. I'm a retired teacher. So if I'm going to be sharing something with you, I'm going to test you. So yeah, the areas at the end of the chapter contain a short, reflection area where you can reflect and take a look at the skills. If you learned anything from the chapter, which you just got through reading, you have an opportunity to write it down. So it's my training as an educator.
Wow.
And actually, the book is meant as a self-help book. So as you go through it, and you can relate to different things. You don't have to read the all of the chapters. There's going to be some places that you can skip over, like for some people who are spiritual and don't want to get into the gaming aspects of what I do. Skip over that. Don't do it. Leave it alone. And you'll be fine.
So if you're just now joining us, I am Jason Medlock with my co-host Tereska Hairston. You're listening to The Expansion of Consciousness. Our guest tonight is David J. Wallace, the author of The Journey of Our Souls and the author of picking winning numbers. And we're going to talk about the second book, but we got to dive a little bit more into some of the other fascinating things that are connected with the journeys of our souls and just connected with you in general that make you who you are. You have a company also, David, Intuitive Insights of Hawaii. And
Correct.
can you talk to us about that and kind of enlighten the audience exactly, you're not just a guy who has some near-death experiences. You're a successful psychic and intuitive and author and a whole lot. I'm really interested in understanding the way you use remote viewing and the ability, your intuitiveness with finding medical issues with people. But let's just talk about your practice in general and let the people know a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, Intuitive Insights Hawaii is actually an umbrella organization, because besides doing practicing Reiki, I'm a Reiki master. I also do medical scans and for people who are having symptoms. And a lot of people, as they begin to have symptoms, they're afraid to go to the doctor.
Yes.
And they talk with family members, or go around and trying to beat around the bush because they're scared to go, they're afraid to go to the doctor and get a definite answer. Well, that's where people like me step in to see if we can help find out exactly what's happening in your body. And so that's the medical intuitive part. I also give training classes in Reiki and Haki. And Haki is more of a combined class where I teach aspects of remote viewing and Reiki and put it together.
Oh,
So,
okay.
and Ha, the name itself is called Ha Ki'i. Ha is the breath of life in human beings, and Ki'i is the imagery that you create in your mind.
Wow.
And so, by using this combination, being able to read someone's energy, the physical energy, um, the energetic body, the physical body, and being able to project your mind into the body, you can see where the injury is and what kind of injury is happening and what's going on inside the body.
Okay, so okay.
So,
I'm
Being able
curious.
to project yourself
Your mind.
in your mind to see into the body.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Mm-hmm.
you taught
Mm-hmm.
me. Well, I use portions of this type of ability in some
Yes.
other things that you and I do.
Yes.
But can you kind of dive off into it a little bit? The audience may not understand you, but can you still dive off into exactly how you do that?
You use your imagination.
Hmm.
Okay. And any type of healing, spiritual healing, you need to use your imagination and your will, basically.
Yeah, oh,
Now,
yes.
the wonderful thing about the human body is that there's a blueprint for it, right?
Mm.
That's why doctors, if they're going to be cutting certain places and stuff, they know exactly what's under there,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Yes.
my job as a medical intuitive is if I'm going to be doing this type of work on a person, I need to know what's under, where different things are in the body. You know, I don't like look up here and say, "Oh, your heart's beating fast."
Yes.
That's not where the heart is,
Mm-hmm.
So, you need to be anatomically correct and know
Mm-hmm.
what the healthy organ looks like. And see things that you get, and that's why I draw my experience from as a police officer and just someone just really curious. We used to slaughter our own animals,
Mm.
raising up on a farm. And so, as far as the insides of the human body, not only have I been able to see that through autopsies, witnessing autopsies, uh, but there's this marvelous thing called the internet, too.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you want examples of how a healthy heart or lungs look like, you can Google it and you get live pictures and videos, and
Mm.
you look at it, and that's a healthy lung. Well, what does
Mhm.
an unhealthy lung look like? And you Google the same thing, and boom, you get a show. And so these are the pictures you get to recognize, um, the difference between things. And normally for me, and a lot of medical intuitives, um, when they see things in happening in a human body, because we're not doctors, we work on impressions that we get. If
Mhm.
something is not functioning, something feels wrong.
Mhm.
And for me, when something is hot, it's okay.
I cannot wait to use one of the terms you taught me.
What's
Is
that?
with the pictures that you're going to look at, to determine what does a good lung look like, what does a good
Yeah,
heart look like, what cueing the subconscious.
exactly.
Ladies and gentlemen, David is cueing his subconscious by looking at photos of what he's trying to find information about.
Sure. So if somebody comes to me, a a client comes to me and complaining about heart or chest pains and stuff. What my job as a medical intuitive, before that patient even comes to me, I make sure I know what's here, where I'll be looking at, what to look for. And so I prepare myself that way. So when my client finally comes in and I can see, like, sitting there and feeling and extending myself and looking inside, I know what's going on and what's wrong. It's not looking normal.
Now,
Mhm.
there are other things you're able to do. We'll talk about that after we go to your second book. But you're able to tell people more than just you have some chest problems, but you're able to talk. You're able to tell people that no, your spouse is not cheating. No, you will get this new job. You're able to use your abilities in a lot of different ways, and I know your clients stretch you to the limit. But I want to talk about the next book that you wrote, which is pretty fabulous. You've been blessed with the ability to uncover or to see unseen things. But I think that when you really look at the way your subconscious has allowed you to manipulate this ability in so many different ways to help people, it's fascinating when we start to look at this book, Picking Winning Numbers, and we're going to look at this. And yeah, give me a little bit. Let me find it.
So is that what you mean by when I'm reading your bio? One of the things that says you're a seer. Does that what is that what that means? You're a seer. What do you see?
A seer is defined as someone that can predict the future. Yeah,
Okay.
it's something like a prophet. And
Mm.
a seer, when I act as a seer, since I'm the oldest male in my family right now, my
Mhm.
generation, the responsibility to see things for my family falls, it's my responsibility.
Mm.
Okay.
Wow.
So anything happening with my family and stuff, I get dreams about them. Uh,
Okay.
my sister, uh, my sister on Maui, she's surprised because the moment she starts thinking about me, I call her up.
Really?
I said, "Sis,
Really?
you okay?" I says, "I was just thinking about you." I said, "Yeah, I know. I'm calling."
Well,
So
I get those feelings about like that, but I don't necessarily see, but I feel. So, what is that when you actually kind of feel that? Is that like, um,
well, again,
it,
it falls within the area of my responsibility to take care of my family, to make
mm-hmm.
sure that their needs are being provided for, to make sure they're safe, and provide them counsel when they need, and give them blessings as they need. So that's my responsibility.
Speaking about family, the heritage of these abilities that you have, can you go into that a little bit?
Sure. I come from a line of really gifted people, not only on the Polynesian side, but also my what Hawaiians call haole side, or European descent and stuff. On both sides of the family, on my mother's side and my father's side, they're very spiritual. And part of our families, we were scholars, uh, priests, and very religious people and healers. Some of the prominent healers in Hawaii, in fact, one of my aunties was one of the people that trained a lot of massage people here in Hawaii, the traditional Hawaiian lomi lomi. And
Mm.
so these um, these family traits have been passed on from generation to generation. And so kahunas, we had several kahunas in our family that were very, very powerful. And just the interest in having that inside of us, I feel that it's a inherited trait in me.
Well, the
I,
next book, and I'm having a little problem bringing it up, but pick.
Hold on.
I
It's
want.
just
I
a
have a quick question. I
Yeah,
have a
go ahead.
quick
No, you
question that,
say it.
because would you say that families that are born together, raised and have generational, carry this certain duty or certain gifts among each other that needs to pass through, or it may be a call or a purpose that each that a family can carry throughout Earth that goes from generation to generation.
see the important question that all of us need to ask ourselves is who are we?
Mm-hmm.
Who are we? And for me, and many people like me, when we answer that question, my answer is I am a total sum of all my ancestors
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
sitting here before you now.
Mm-hmm.
So all of their hopes, all of their wishes, all of their powers, all of the
Mm.
things that made them who they are, it's part of my DNA.
It's part of you.
It's alive, it's in me, and it's up to me which parts of my ancestors I want to activate.
That is so. Now that blows my mind. I have so many questions from that, but that's good. I'm gonna
Yeah.
leave it. I'm gonna
Well,
let
you may want to ask him about finding out about who's your spirit guide. That whole thing kind of blew you away.
Well, yeah, I mean, actually, yeah, the actual my actual spiritual guide, but the fact that the real culmination of our ancestors, that we don't necessarily always connect to that. And
Yeah.
although we sense when we're going about our daily life, although we sense there are things that we do that we know that some past family members do that just come out of nowhere, I find
Yeah.
that quite interesting as well. But
Actually, the
yeah,
most, yeah.
go
Oh,
ahead, go
sorry.
ahead. No, I'm good.
No, like I was saying, following along this line and stuff, the most inspirational quote I ever heard that started me, that came early on in my travels in this journey, was a quote from Amistad.
Hmm.
You familiar with that
Hmm.
film, Amistad?
Amistad, yes, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. There's a part in there where John Quincy Adams is making his final speech, and he says his quote is, "Who we are is who we were."
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay.
So who we are is who we were. So when I found out who my ancestors were, I wanted to be like them, and I can if I wanted to. Same with you.
Hmm. Well, wow. Now I got to figure out how do I find out about them.
They're inside you. You just gotta, like I keep on telling Jason, you gotta ask the right question, right?
Right.
Got it.
Like when you
Got it.
queue in your mind, you need to create the right question. Ask the
And
right question.
that's true. And we probably I know I probably know the questions to ask and sometimes I guess the fear makes you like, do I really want to ask the question? Because there's the fear. It's the fear thing because you don't know what's going
Yeah.
to happen. But
Yeah.
Well, this second book, Picking Winning Numbers,
Yes.
okay,
forecasting sports using ARV, and ARV is associate remote viewing, and David is a professional remote, scientific remote viewer. He's a professional associate remote viewer, but David has been
hmm
able to tap in to his subconscious and use his ability to predict, his ability to see beyond, his ability to transcend time. And he wrote this book. David, we're ready for you. Come on, talk about it.
Yeah. Well, the reason why I wrote this is this is a manual that I created for my ARV classes. And what I was experiencing is, for the traditional remote viewers who go through the entire classes and try to use remote viewing to make predictions, they struggle. They struggle a lot because um, they're accustomed to doing things that's drawn out long. And um, when I started learning how to remote viewing, one of the things that I did, I tried to teach my students in high school. And when I tried to teach the traditional way that I was being taught, my students who were special needs, it just went over their heads.
So,
And
just real quickly, remote viewing
yeah,
is
remote viewing is the ability to see hidden things in time and space. So you can jump ahead in time to see an event that's about to happen or will happen in the future, or you can take a look backwards in time to visit the event that already happened to get more details.
Hmm.
And you do this mentally
well,
using
is
your
there a
mind.
way once you determine if you jump in the free future, something going to happen? Is there a way you can stop it? Say it's something bad. Would you have a that issue? Would you want to stop it, or can you stop it?
Now, we're going mainly as information gatherers, yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
I'm not trying to influence the change or anything. It's like just trying to gather more information. And
Correct.
hmm
so we're projecting our conscious there. The past, something has already happened. And so when you're visiting the past, you're just trying to get details, and um, you can do that real easy.
So, so David, let's get to the juicy stuff. You
I,
you you won the Florida lottery using this book, using the techniques that you perfected in this book. Give us the take us back. Tell us what happened, how you prepared for it, and how'd you win the Florida lottery 3 times?
Actually, that was the California,
California.
California
Okay.
Fantasy Five. Yeah, the California Fantasy Five one. I was able to win 3 times, getting the numbers all lined up. And the California Fantasy Five is a 5 draw out of 39. So there's 39 numbers, and 5 numbers are drawn from that. And this happened really early when I was doing this, and um, when you learn how to remote view, one of the things that they teach you in remote viewing is that you cannot see numbers and you
Hmm.
cannot read, you know, newspapers or science. And so, working under that belief, I created a system where, uh, in remote viewing, we see pictures, right? Sure.
Right.
Well, why can't we use pictures to represent numbers?
Hmm.
And I go, what do you mean? Say, yeah, suppose I get a rocket that looks something nice and tall. What number does it look like? Number one?
One.
Yeah.
Number one. So,
Okay.
David, are
If
you
I were,
saying that numbers could be encoded in pictures and that we just don't really look at it that way? And you've
yeah,
cracked this type of information?
yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay.
So some of these associations are really easy to make because we know them. And the idea is for these associations that you create between pictures and numbers, don't try and make it confusing. Um, you know, Pick out things that you know already. for the number 3, what would you use for the number 3 to associate with the number 3?
I probably would use a um hmm,
what
number. You know what?
picture?
I probably would use a trike, like
Yeah,
a motorcycle, three-wheeled motorcycle.
Right,
tricycle.
Tricycle.
Yeah,
tricycle,
Yeah,
tricycle, yeah.
tricycle. Some religious people would probably use the Father, Son, Holy Ghost.
a
Oh
triangle.
yeah,
A triangle.
triangle,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Ye-
there's a lot of associations we can do.
But let's
Oh
get back.
yeah.
Let's get back to that
Yeah.
lottery. I mean, I know people
Yeah.
are hanging on their seats. They want to know.
So anyway,
Want to know how you did it and what you win.
that's how it that's how I did it. Was going after numbers by creating associations with all 39 numbers of the California um, lottery, and I just project my mind after the lottery is drawn. Show me the 5 pictures I'm going to draw on this piece of paper.
Mhm.
And once I get the vision of the different pictures, the first picture to come up, I create a sketch. Second one, I create a sketch and create 5 sketches. And after I create the 5 sketches, I need to determine, okay, what number is this? What number is that? What number is that? And after going through the number associations and decoding what I drew, I create my number sets. And 3 times the number sets that I created hit it right there.
Okay. Okay. So you won the first time. Okay. What did you say to yourself after you won that first time?
um, Thank you.
Yes, thank you. So that's a good one. That's a good start.
Okay. The
So thank
second
you.
time. The second time.
Thank you.
Second time was the same thing. Thank you.
Okay.
And
Gotcha.
I try not to get overly emotional.
Right.
And because you know what, if you're doing it right and if you're doing the things that you see is correct and stuff, the feedback is kind of like anticlimactic. So
Okay. So
it's,
you have actually a system. You wrote a book about it. I mean, you have a system.
yes.
You use associated remote viewing to bed multiple uh well, events that have multiple situations,
Uh-huh.
the NBA, the NFL. Walk us
Correct.
through your day. We know I know that by reading your book, you predict the S&P 500. You
That's
predict
correct.
stocks if they're going to go up or down. You must have some sort of system that you're using, and we've heard a little bit of it, but let the audience know, and maybe these people can, the people that are listening will purchase the book, and also do the smart thing and purchase you for 10 weeks.
Yeah, well, my normal day begins, before I do anything and stuff, I sit down and plan my day out. What am I going to do? And the early morning, I like to start off with simple, one sketch things like doing the NBA. Okay, so the NBA would be the first thing up. And I only have to make one sketch, and I got 2 targets to consider. Yeah, and we went through that. Um, and after that, I put it aside, and I do the rest of my work. Throughout the day, I'm just doing um, tarot readings, counseling, and I do coaching. And then in the evening is when I work the lotteries. And the main lotteries that I work on are the Powerball and the Mega Million. And so with those 2 lotteries, if they're above 100 million, I'm working off all of it. So that's 5 days a week. And there's 2 ways that I do it. One is the picture method, and the other is the charting that I showed you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you say the Powerball, I want everybody to know that David has a YouTube channel and that he puts up the free. He gives you a list of free numbers that he plays, and he puts it out there once a week. So if you want to, David, tell them about your YouTube channel. They can log on there and they can get a free set of numbers that you do once a week.
Yeah, every Friday evening I post the Powerball numbers, and it's on my YouTube channel, David J. Wallace / picking winners. And
Mhm.
so it contains 4 sets of numbers that you can play. And a lot of my numbers, and if I'm in a sweet spot, like the numbers that I played on Monday uh, were actually better numbers for actually the numbers that I played this past Saturday was actually better for the numbers that showed up yesterday. In fact,
Mhm.
4 of the numbers hit.
Wow.
So
So
Yeah.
can I quick? I have a quick question. What do you ask yourself when you're trying to visualize the pictures?
I
What do you
like
say?
that. I like that question because I just asked him this Monday night. I love it, Tereska.
Yeah, good question. And you acting like a student. Good.
Oh, yes, sir.
Okay. Um, you know, during in the lotteries, five. Uh, there's 5 main pictures that you're looking for, right?
Mhm.
So while you're working, when you start, you have to get in your mindset that when numbers are drawn, it doesn't come from small to large and stuff. It's just random. So you can
Mhm.
have the largest number being the first number drawn. And for that reason, you cannot paint yourself in a box.
Mhm.
So um, when you do this, the cue is that you need to tell your mind is to show me the first picture associated with this lottery that I'm
Okay.
going to draw tomorrow during feedback.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
again, you making believe that you're traveling through time and you're sitting at feedback tomorrow, okay, uh, for that particular lottery. For example, today is Tuesday, right?
Right.
Yes.
So if I'm working the par, I'm going to be working the Powerball later tonight. Okay.
Mhm.
So while I'm working this, I'm placing my mind. Uh, the Powerball is drawn at 5 o'clock Hawaii time. So what I'm doing is I'm projecting my mind to 5:15 tomorrow evening, 10
Okay.
minutes after the numbers are drawn. By then, the entire world will know what the numbers are. And tapping into that energy and say, okay, show me the first number associated with that draw. And show me the image that represents that number. And I wait. And as soon as the image pops into my mind, I create a sketch. And I do that for all of the numbers from the first, second, third, fourth, fifth. Take a short break and then come back and do the number for the bonus ball itself. So the end result is that I'm going to be creating 6 pictures, and each of those pictures is going to be representing a winning number. Does that make sense?
Yes, I got it.
See, David,
Absolutely.
David,
I got
she's
it
right there.
down.
She's trying
I
to take
got it.
notes.
I'm ready. I've been. I
We
got
want
my
you to buy the
pen.
book.
Oh, I will get the book, but definitely I got it.
So, I, David, also you you've shown us that you use the same method with finding an illness. You're you've tweaked the same method to predict the outcome of a future event using ARV for the lottery. Now
Yes.
you're doing the point spread with the NBA. You
Right.
are you are picking vacation trips for you and your wife. And actually on the trip you've put together a system to tell you which game you should play the most. Talk to us about all of that.
Again, it comes down to questioning, developing good questions to ask your subconscious. Yeah.
Yeah.
What is the correct question? Um,
Yeah.
for example, if you know the casino that you're going to get into, and stuff. And what I like to do is create a map of the floor. You, most of the casinos, you can access it online. They'll show you basically how it looks like. Okay, the layout.
Mhm.
And so you create a layout, and I like to form grids and get them into a total of 9 blocks, 3 by 3, and assign A, B, C, D, and all the way down 9 blocks. And what I'll do is I ask myself, when I step into this casino, show me the hottest spot that I'm going to win the maximum in.
David,
Mm-hmm.
why do we cue our subconscious, and what does it do?
The subconscious is real curious.
Mm,
The subconscious is real curious. It's not limited by time or space.
mm,
You can direct it at any time.
yes.
And it's just a matter of allowing your and believing that your subconscious can do it. In fact, the more often and more frequent you use it, the more trusted you can feel. It's just like exercising a muscle.
So,
You
David,
don't, yeah.
I'm gonna go. No, no, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Now, go ahead.
So,
Yeah,
David, we're in the group that I'm, the book club I'm with. We write letters to our subconscious once a week,
sure.
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
the object of it is the same thing you said. I try to get the ladies in my group to exercise their mind, exercise the relationship with your higher self, your subconscious,
Yeah.
because it is listening to you.
Um,
Yes.
all
Yes.
the time.
Yes.
What you're saying.
So
Yeah.
that it is definitely. So I was curious. So you mentioned that the subconscious, the mind is curious. Um, but I look at it as also my guide and my director. So is it not the same? It's not the same as guiding, the spiritual guide, or is it not?
Actually, for me, it's my personal will.
So your personal will is your
My personal will is directing me to go wherever I want. I'm deciding where to go and what to look at.
mm-hmm.
My guide is kind of like there as a companion to help me uh, complete the objective.
Okay. So the subconscious or higher self is just pretty much your inner will.
Yeah,
It's just another
Different
name.
names.
It's just a
Yes.
yeah,
different
different names,
name. We're calling it
different names.
different things, but it's the same thing that's in you that you really need to connect to.
Yeah,
Got it.
yeah. For me, I try and stay away from labels. I just decide do it,
Right.
do it. Don't worry about labels. Don't worry what part of yourself you're setting out, because if
Yes,
you hang up on that and stuff, it's more confusing, and
that's
it
true.
can be self-defeating.
Yeah.
Well, I want to encourage our listeners again, David Wallace, the journey of our souls. Is it journey of our souls.com. Go and look at that book and buy it and check it out. David offers some very, very interesting takes on things he's experienced in his life that you may have experienced as well, and picking winners. And I know that people who know me know that I've increased my ability to choose or to predict the outcome of these games. And I may be hovering around a 50 or 51% win rate. I know David is a little bit higher. Well, not a little bit. He's much higher than I. But go and look at picking winners and buy that book if that's something that interests you. But you can use the skill itself for so many other things. And I know that Tereska is very interested in finishing out her Reiki training with you. But David, can you leave our audience with one final nugget? Anything interesting you want to share? And we know that there are some other areas we can dive into that could take another hour up. So we want to get you back. But is there a parting word for the audience?
Sure. One of the things that I want everyone to remember is that you know we're children of God,
Mm-hmm.
right? And as children of God, we inherited many godlike traits within us. And
Mm-hmm.
so, if we live up to who we are spiritually and as human beings, as being children of God and be like our Father. Yeah. And be like our Maker.
Yes.
All things are possible.
I love that. Love it.
I do too. And I knew that would get a rise out of you, Tereska. But Tereska
Love
is
it.
she's very, very, very much in tune with her relationship with God. But then
Sure.
now, even more so, spirituality has crept into the scene, and she's
Sure.
balancing both of those, and that's special.
Yeah.
So, David, we're going to go ahead and we thank you for coming on the show. I want you to come back. I know that you
Yeah.
probably will.
Sure, anytime.
we didn't get a chance to talk about your other projects. David has a line of nonfiction books that he's writing, that he's coming out with. David is a full-time author as well as a full-time psychic intuitive, medical intuitive. So when we come back on the show, we can learn about the different other projects that you have. And hopefully you've gained some more traction on those. But
yeah, and hopefully we'll be releasing my first series in about 30 days.
oh wow,
Awesome.
Yeah,
that's gonna
so
be
we're
awesome.
about a month away.
Well, I'll tell you what. That's when you come back. When you release it, you
Yes.
come back and we'll talk about it. And we definitely will get on top of that. So, without any further ado, we appreciate it, David J. Wallace, the author of Journey of Our Souls and Pick and Winning Numbers. We thank you for coming on. Author, intuitive, scientist, remote viewer, and Tereska, you and I'll stay on, and we'll wrap this up. David, we appreciate it, and aloha.
Aloha.
All right. All right.
Take
Thank you,
care.
David. Yeah. Whew. Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot. And you have to be a person that either you're in it in all facets of spirituality, then you get it. If you're a person who understands the subconscious mind, does a number of things for us, if we know how to access it, then you get it. If you understand that cueing is very important when you're trying to embed information in your subconscious mind so that your avatar can react. It's a lot to unpack. We do it every day with the I ams. We do it every day with the affirmations.
Right.
So we are cueing ourselves for what we're asking for.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, T.
Yeah, and just the opposite. I was going to say, just the opposite of that is what we programmed ourselves before we were woke. Before we realized this, as we were growing up, we programmed ourselves in a different way to cover up and hide and suppress these type of feelings or these things that may have come up in our minds or our thoughts. We suppress those things because we didn't understand them. So now we get the opportunity to claim what is rightfully ours.
Absolutely. And one of the things that David, you try to squeeze all this valuable information in 1 hour, you forget about it. You're not going to be able to do it. But one of the things that David, he didn't mention, but he does religiously, he goes into a level of meditation. And Tereska, we've said this time and time and time again. All the spiritual modalities, Reiki, performing Reiki, astral projection, out of body experiences, anything with galactic healing energy, using associate remote viewing to locate an object, whatever it is, there's a level of quietness and stillness that you need to achieve so that you can fully gain the attention of your subconscious mind. And then you begin to cue whatever it is that you want to accomplish. So meditation is important, folks, and it's still the backbone of a lot of different things that we try to do to bring this level of peace and to allow ourselves to try these different modalities. And we have to have a calm mind.
And absolutely, and bring a level of power, because as he said, as David just mentioned, that it is our desire as spirits to be connected with the ultimate spirit.
Yes.
And that's God. And so if we align ourselves more with God and the meditation helps us do that, then we gain the power that God has.
We gain the
So
power. And we're all networked, we're all gods, we're all
yeah.
co-creators. And we're actually having a conversation right now with ourselves. David is me, I'm David, you're David. We're all the
Okay.
same, we're all networked with the same within the same God consciousness. We're in the same God Christ consciousness. He's just experiencing us in different avatars, different individuals, different forms of matter. And it's mind blowing at times, but at times it's not, because if you're woke, you fully understand that we're all energy, and that we're all connected, then you can get that concept and it comes through clearly to you. So without any further ado, we thank you for sharing your time with us tonight. I am Jason Medlock, and you've been listening to The Expansion of Consciousness. We will see you next week. And Tereska, you want to close anything out? You got anything else to say?
No, I'm good. Have to see you all next time.
We'll see y'all next time. Thank you so much, and good night.